Hello, fellow Americans. You are on the YouTube channel Common Constitutionalism, and I am Mitch. I talk about issues in our government, the erosion of our culture, the minimizing of our way of life, and the disregard for our Constitution. Today I want to talk about two Americas, victim of circumstance and consequence of choice. The Democrats have said it many times. There are two Americas, the white privileged America and the woke America. These two phrases are specifically meant to entrap minorities. One more scheme the Democrat Party has conjured up to elevate division and ensure separatism. Think about it. Do you really believe these phrases will have any effect on wealthy people of color? Do you really believe Antifa, the rioting, burning, looting, violence, has affected the wealthy? Where the Democrats blame inequality on systemic racism, white privilege, and entitlement of reparations, Republicans believe it to be freedom. That is, the freedom of choice and responsibility. One is a culture of entitlement and circumstance, while the other is a culture of effort and consequence. The Democrats have created an empire of power and wealth at the expense of the minorities. The demographics they have always claimed to fight for. You can choose to be the victim. You can choose to expect empathy and magnanimity. You can continue in the rut of having less and wanting more, of doing little and wanting privilege. But this mentality is not reality. Truthfully, this is the social Marxist culture the Democrats have enslaved minorities to for nearly 60 years. The victimhood mentality that you were trained to abide by is never going to change your situation. The Democrat Party has leveraged this philosophy to keep them in power. As long as you keep buying into what they are selling you, you keep giving them your vote. You are keeping them in power by giving up your own power of effort and consequence. It is this cycle that has continued for 60 years. Because I guarantee you, I am not standing around waiting to give you more of what I have worked my ass off to obtain just so you can have a free handout. Because you are willing to work for less. What the Democrat Party has taught you is just not a realistic concept. While you have been taught to speak of your inequality of circumstance, I speak of inequality of consequence. You claim the circumstances have kept you underprivileged. I claim the consequences of hard work, effort, and responsibility have given me the measure of success I have accumulated. Because the Democrat Party tells you that you are entitled to take a portion of my accomplishments from me, you feel entitled to do so. You are living the consequence of choosing to do a little. But you were taught to believe you are entitled to more because you are the victim of white privilege. All part of the Democrat Party's lies that have kept you feeling obligated to it for 60 years. Whereas I am living the consequence of choosing to do a lot, and your belief that you have the right to take what is mine? Therefore, I am the victim of your entitlement. So you see, the party that claims to be helping you for the last 60 years is really the party that has enslaved you to your circumstance. All the while, it has monopolized your vote to retain its power. More of the Democrat Party's lies. Life is about choices. Choices do not have circumstances. Either you choose to do something or you do not. However, choices do have consequences. The choice to have or not to have. The choice to do or not to do. No one makes you take drugs. You choose to take drugs. No one makes you be on welfare. You choose to be on welfare. All of these things are a consequence of your choice. It is not about circumstance. It is all about consequence. Without acknowledging the effects inequality of effort has on consequences, equality of circumstance is impossible to achieve. The differences we see in societal demographics is a result of individuals making different choices, creating different consequences. The economic division we have in America is not because of victimhood, systemic racism, or white privilege. Instead, the division comes from the wholesale brainwashing of minorities, low-income earners, and people in poverty. These demographics that could make up over 30% of the U.S. population, what may be the single most deceit the Democrat Party has subjected the American people to, is its claim it is the party of the underprivileged. A claim that has stuck for over 60 years. A reality that has those demographics voting for Democrats about 80% of the time. If the Democrat Party is so good for these underprivileged demographics, why are they no better off today than they were 60 years ago? The answer to that is simple. It's because the Democrat Party has convinced this segment of voters their social and economical inequalities are based in racism. Their strife is caused by Republicans who are white supremacists and who are products of white privilege. These demographics' acceptance of that rhetoric has created generations of minorities entrenched in social welfare and victim mentality. Once someone accepts they are a victim, they become a victim. To be a victim is to admit one is unable to be responsible for oneself. That very declaration is a damning reality to one's willingness to put their future into the hands of someone else, thus admitting they are incapable of making their own decisions. What a shameful excuse to simply remain in the current circumstance, rather than taking self-responsibility to change the circumstance by the outcome of consequences. The Democrat Party must keep the deep division in place. This is the only way they retain its power. Democrats cannot allow minorities to actually improve their social and economical situations. If minorities were to become better off, What would they need the Democrat Party for? That would indisputably uncover the Democrats' deceit to be a complete fraud. This philosophy continues to destroy America. Democrats are not helping minorities. Their constant invective speech has left the United States a society of separatism and division because of a fraud perpetuated by a political party that is willing to destroy America for its love of power. What all Americans must come to understand is the victim of circumstance narrative is the real reason minorities continue to remain in the same social suppression for 60 years. When Americans are ready to move ahead on this issue, choices must be made. Freedom of choice allows all individuals to fail, but also to succeed. Choices create outcomes. It is in these outcomes one will find inequality of consequences. The amount of effort applied has a direct relationship to the outcome. Not all outcomes are equal. Shedding light on the inequality of consequences. In order for minorities to succeed, they must leave the selfish motivations of the Democrat Party and its quest for power. Leave philosophies of entitlement, systemic racism, white privilege, and victimized circumstances behind. Instead of living as a societal victim of circumstance, learn to take responsibility for your consequences. Change your surroundings. Take responsibility for social morality of your communities and families. Good choices create good outcomes of consequences. Succeeding in education, receiving your diploma, pursuing a college degree, etc., will give you better career choices. Choosing to have children in marriage with both parents in the home will increase stability. Statistics show having a father in a household can decrease violent crimes, drug and alcohol use, teenage pregnancy, and abortions significantly. Remember, it is not equality of victimized circumstances that will change your life, but rather the inequality of effort and consequences that will make all the difference. Leave the selfish, failed philosophies of the Democrat Party and embrace the life-changing power of effort and consequence. I would appreciate you all exploring, donating, subscribing, joining, and shopping on my sites. Until next time, this is Common Constitutionalism, and I am Mitch. Thank you, America.